there's a story by Hanifa Adan. It's actually not a story, but rather more of an article by Hanifa Adan, where she had penned down her thoughts on the Daily Nation, explaining the woes that befell Agatha in the hands of Tanzanian policemen. And she really explained about how Agatha had tried for quite a while to come and imagine of what if these people come for me. And there's a point where she's saying that Agatha used to joke and asema, at this point I need to be carrying poison so that whenever they come for me, so that I just don't endure the kind of problems that, the kind of torture that they are going to make me undergo. I just drink and let the poison work on me in a way, but let me not go through their torture. Well, at times we are scared for our lives. We are all scared for our lives. And she's been advised quite a number of times, Agatha, please stop this. It will get your children motherless. But Agatha thinks in a different way. She's like, what about those children who lose their mothers because of the hospitals do not have medicine? What about that one kid who loses their parents just because of the government's negligence and such issues? So to her, it's not all children who are motherless due to the fact that their mother spoke up. At times it's because of someone who never spoke up, someone who never did their duty, someone who never did what they're supposed to do. I'm a lover of books, I'm a lover of articles, and each time I read Hanifa's articles, I never fail to get intrigued with the kind of brains. Her style of writing reminds me of Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. Yes, they are not in the same field of creative writing, but you still see a woman who is able to express her emotions in the best way possible. And I would like to read an excerpt. Kuna kapat kalinibamba sana hapa about how Hanifa put it, and listen to how she explains what Agatha went through. I'll read. What happened to me, what happened next is the stuff of nightmares. They ordered her to strip. We are talking about Agatha. So they ordered Agatha to strip, they beat her, they mocked her, they dehumanized her. And when they were done, they treated her as if nothing had happened, offered her water, told her to rest like it was just another work day. Like they had it just crossed every line of decency. They looked at her like they do this daily. Hanifa, Agatha says, they treated me nicely immediately after afflicting immense pain. Immediately after afflicting immense pain, they treat you nicely. Like, it's not personal. This is my job. But how does someone make a job out of torture? How do you earn out of torturing? Like, I've tortured you, so when I torture you, acha nipelekee watoto maziwa. It's just work. It's not personal. Sounds like mercenaries, right? Heartless. How does someone, Hanifa writes, how does someone reconcile violence with professionalism? These weren't monsters from a movie. They weren't ordinary men in uniforms carrying out orders with detached precision. And perhaps that's the scariest part, the vanity of evil, the ease with which people can justify brutality when they are insulated by state power. Boniface was among the other people who had been abducted along Agatha, and really underwent a lot in the hands of the Tanzanian state. They were really tortured, dehumanized. And I actually like the fact that Hanifa says that in as much as Tanzania wanted silence, they wanted silence like nothing is happening. Right now, it's out there. The can of worms is opened and we can all see what is happening in Tanzania. The UN are looking at this. They are asking questions. The international community is asking questions. They thought that they were silencing this one person or these two people in Agatha and Boniface Mwangi. And now see, Kenyans are battling them. And Kenyans are fighting for Tanzania while they are still in Kenya. There used to be Kenyans on Twitter. Now there are Kenyans on TikTok, Kenyans on WhatsApp, Kenyans everywhere. And they are swarming in to teach these Tanzanian politicians a lesson, quite a number of them. Because we are fixing our country, but as we are fixing our country, we have to fix the other countries. Because if your neighbors are good, then it's better for you. If we are liberated and our neighbors are not liberated, then what's the essence of liberation? How will we enjoy trading with our East African members? If Tanzania cannot talk, if Uganda cannot talk, we have to break this yoke of slavery that has been brought onto us, economic slavery, where youths do not have opportunities. And unless we have people who are ready to sacrifice their lives, the likes of Boniface Mwangi and Agatha, then hakuna place tunaenda. Because for Christianity to happen, it had to take Jesus to be crucified. For Kenya to gain independence, it had to take a very high number of people to die, and the Mau Mau to fight even the Arab Spring. It took someone to burn themselves for the Arab Spring to happen. They are always sacrificial lambs. I do not want to become a sacrificial lamb. I love myself. I don't want to just turkey. But at the same time, it's time we wake a consciousness in our people, try to tell them, na tukubali that there are some people, the struggle will have blood, sweat and tears. 25th of June, that blood haikumwagika in vain. One day we shall remember. And many more will be lost in the struggle for liberation. And I have to put this, the liberation of our people, the Kenyan people, the East African people, will not be led by a politician. It will be led by a very common person. Mtu mwenye hajulikani. Let's read from the Arab Spring. Let's borrow notes from there. Hanifa goes ahead to say, to give an experience that Agatha had. That when she was going to Uganda and the children, Agatha's children had gone to her sister's place, they packed their school items because they were scared of the fact that our mother might not come again. These are young kids. I'm not definite how old they are, but they had already come to face with the reality that Mama might not come back because of what she does. Traumatizing, right? I really feel for them. And just imagine, if that is a journalist, huyu ni mtu anajulikana, this is someone who has spoken out, known worldwide, and she undergoes such kind of torture. What of that person mwenye hajulikani, and even if they are known of that average Tanzanian who is against the government or who was just caught up, mistaken identity. We saw here in Kenya where they wanted Francis Gaido, but they took Macharia Gaido. Took off completely different people. And then in Tanzania, where the rules are a bit loose, maybe they decide, let's deal with, this is the Gaido. Now they are dealing with a Macharia Gaido, but they were sent a Francis Gaido. They torture him, and after torturing him, maybe they decided to bury him, and he's never seen again. Then, after a while, it was mistaken identity. That's why we say, I mean, you are the state, you are government. Kwani iko shida gani kama umefanya makosa ushikwe na governor upelekwa kotini? It's the government anyway. They have a monopoly of violence. They can do anything to you. But should they really kill you? Should they torture you? Why do we build prison? What is the purpose of prison? You should not silence people. They are afraid of. They thrive Our politicians just thrive in silence. If we keep quiet, then things are good. But if people talk, then the fear is with them. So people should talk more. And actually, Watanzania muongee na mzungumze zaidi. Nyinyi hata ndio mmenyamaza, vita yenyu tunawapigania, mko wapi? Where are you? Mko wapi? Fight your own battles. We are only here to help you, not to fight for you. Sasa hii mnafaa ku take up from the pace yenye wa Kenya tumewasetia. Si mtupinge sisi, lakini mpinge serikali yenu. Mpinge serikali yenu. Huyo mama anawadhulumu. Mama atawaacha mayatima, anawadhulumu. Sijui kama mnanielewa TZD. Lakini hayo ni mambo yenu, sisi hatutashughulika na yenu sana, kwa sababu tuko na yetu. Na yetu hamyawezi. Kwa mfano, sasa mambo ambayo sisi wana Kenya tunashughulikia. Tulikuwa tunafanya uchunguzi kuelewa kana kwamba serikali yetu ina uhusiano wowote na vita vinavyoendelea kuibuka kule Sudan. Na tukapata kwamba ndio jambo wazi kama meno ya ngiri kwamba serikali yetu kuna vile ambavyo ina uhusiano wa ndani na kundi haramu la Janjaweed ama ukipenda RSF kule Darfur. Wao ndio wanaosupport, wanawapea huo Kiswahili ni ngumu bwana. Kiswahili ni ngumu, but I was trying to explain to Tanzanians the kind of problems we are facing here. Hawaziwezi. So there was a recent headline on the Standard about how RSF have been moving military equipment from the United Arab Emirates all the way to Darfur. This comes in through Kenya. The planes natoka either Abu Dhabi or Dubai. We are now specific on the one that was downed in Nyala Airport. So the plane was from Abu Dhabi, came to Kenya, labeled as humanitarian aid, then from Kenya in under Darfur. What was termed as humanitarian aid, because these are cargo planes, was not actually humanitarian aid. These were military weapons, drones. Kina FH-95. Kama hujui FH-95, tafadhali nenda ulizia. These are kind of a drone that can move, that can be operated remotely. I can attack you when I'm 2,600 kilometers away. It can also work. They can coordinate. You can have several drones where zina actually kama soldiers. It's like in the movies. Cover for me. Drone sasa ndio inafanya hiyo. Cover for me, ina cover for the other drone. Zinakuja zina bomb. Zinafanya malipuzi mbaya sana. So the Sudan armed forces got to get this intelligence and they bombed that plane. That plane had 8 Emirati internationals, at least 8. Several Sudanese people, RSF troops were there, and also there was a Kenyan pilot by the name George Nyamodi. So George Nyamodi is the first Kenyan, unofficial, it's not official, unofficial, but the first known Kenyan to lose his life due to the RSF versus SAF battle in Sudan. Hemedi, our president says that they have no ties with Hemedi. But now we have the evidence. Evidence iko kwa karatasi. Gachagua said this thing, and he said he is a truthful man. He blamed them. And now the evidence is here. The government has denied any involvement, but if it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, it's definitely a duck. What was Janjaweed doing in the KICC? Declaring a parallel government. Actually, do you know what is the impact of them declaring a parallel government? Then it would mean that they are allowed to directly import weapons that can only be sold to government. Remember, only a state has the monopoly of violence. Kuna weapons zingine wezi enda kununua ni kama unanunua atikisu pale kwa barabara. Or like the way we see in the movies, I want to buy a gun. And they go to the gun store in the US and just buy, do you want a shotgun, want a pistol, I want a semi-automatic machine gun, or whatever kind of gun that you're buying, whatever rifle you're buying. There are some equipment that are so deadly, chemical weapons, these drones, that you cannot just buy kama wewe sio state if it's not a state that is established on its own. So when these Janjaweed guys were here on KICC and they are declaring a parallel government and declaring themselves as government, they are trying to legitimize that they can get such equipment. So a UN report was able to link Kenya directly with that Sudan RSF arms supply. And when we talk of RSF, they are really bad people, and whatever they have done in Darfur is something I would actually not like to speak about because it's so dehumanizing. I have been quite intrigued by this Sudan story, and it's over a month since this podcast started, and Sudan has been one of the things that I've spoken about the most. I got to even dig further on what is the beef between Sudan with the Medi. There's a link up here that you need to watch. Listen to get to understand who is a Medi. What does he do? Because kuna mambo huko, like I learned about a Medi and ethical cleansing. A Medi ni Mwarabu, but he's talking about ethical cleansing, and they've been cleansing people in Sudan. Actually, there's a point I was watching some documentary where he was saying that people, they killed a governor, the RSF guys killed the governor of Darfur. He was from a different tribe. I think walikuwa naita Masit, if I'm not wrong, or Malit should be the name if I'm not wrong. So this governor of Darfur was from the Malit tribe. He went to, did an interview with one of the international media stations, talked about how people are being killed. He just explained on the real situation that is there in Sudan. However, what ended up happening of him? He was shot, he was captured by the RSF, tortured, and he was killed. Now, if a governor is killed, in as much as there is war, but you see such a significant person ameuawa, what does that mean? It's not safe anymore. So people of the Malit tribe started moving, trying to seek refuge in Chad, a distance of around 30 kilometers from Mali walikuwa. As they were moving, they were rounded by the RSF. When the RSF guys rounded them, they perpetrated them. Wakawapepeta. People were trying to run into one of the rivers, trying to cross on the other side, but I mean, hata kama river ni wide aje, how can you help a bullet? And how this river, I can't remember the exact name of the river, but this river is a wide river and it's actually going to feed into the Nile. So I don't expect it to be a small river. There might be crocodiles or all kind of things that can be in such a river. Hippopotamus, snakes, but you would rather run from them than face the RSF. There were stories where that the RSF in their ethnic cleansing, they have been killing every male from this other tribe. When you kill a male, you kill a generation, because you all know mwanaume ndiye ako na mbegu. You can remember in the times of Herod. Like, it's giving Herod na time ya Yesu. Nani aliambia Hemedi kuna ka Yesu kamezaliwa Sudan? Rada, mbona mnaua males by the way? I don't get this thing. And then this is the person who is being said that he is friends with our president. Show me your friends and I will